All right, I think we're all muted, so welcome to Yin Yoga, and tonight we're going to focus on our energy when the energy is low and we're tired, and our hips. What's the relationship between our hips and being tired? Well, I don't know, but we'll find out. Because there's always a relationship between two things. So I'd like you to start with wide-seated pose. Now, wide-seated pose is a tricky pose. You basically want to have the heel of one foot in front of the ankle of the other foot, and ideally the knees are below the hips. Now you cannot see it, but I'm sitting on the edge of a blanket to tilt my pelvis forward. Right here I'm on the edge, and you'll notice as soon as I came off the edge my posture changed. And you can also use a block, something a little higher, and sit on the edge of that, and you can see that creates an even more stable and balanced seat. So the lifting of the pelvis with the knees grounded makes a big difference. Now, if one knee is up in the air like this, I'm going to recommend you take something like a blanket or a block and you prop it up so there's a sense of stability in your seat and no pressure on the hip. And when I say no pressure on the hip, no undue pressure on the hip. Palms face up, elbows close to the ribs, and find that central axis nice and tall. And tune into your energy level, whether it's high or low, tired or awake, bright or dull. And in yoga, we never judge our energy level as right or wrong. Our energy level gives us a direction. It's our North Star. To move towards what's called sattva, or clear energy, neutral energy, not too high, not too low. So if our energy is too high, if we're too amped up, too scattered, we try to bring the energy down to this clear state, this simple state. If the energy is lethargic and dull, slothful, tired, run down, then we try to gently bring it up to that clear energy, not too high, just up a little bit. And we do that through our posture. We lift the heart, we sit up tall, and start to slow the breathing down. Breathing in through the nose. Slow, gentle energy. And when the energy is down or tired, imagine that each breath in is just dropping some chi, some life force into your body. It's like you're just storing it away into your cells. You might be storing it in your ankles or feet, knees, hips, back. Like a little squirrel putting the nuts away for winter. Just feel yourself, each breath in, storing some chi, storing some energy, storing some prana. So the ancient yogis considered that when we breathe in, we nourish ourselves with life force. And hence we slow the breath down, breathing in through the nose, letting each new breath get a little deeper. As you inhale, push down through the sit bones. And as you exhale, lift up through the crown of the head. Take 5 more breaths. Just feeling the nourishment of each breath being stored away inside the body. Everything that's not needed is exhaled. So just imagine you're just pulling the most nourishing part out of the air, the oxygen, and it's going into the heart and being pumped around to all the cells in the body. And the carbon dioxide is exhaled, releasing all that's not needed. And this is the scientific nature of what we're doing 20,000 times every day. But when we make it conscious, we start to feel our energy start to level out, change. On the next inhale, lean back into your hands and change the cross of the leg. Come into your non-habitual cross. Notice the difference in the hips. When you put the other foot forward. And breathe nourishment into that hip that feels a little out of kilter. Directing this time a specific directionality into that part of the body. In this case, the hip that's not so relaxed when we change the cross of the leg. So we use our breath to direct our attention to particular parts of the body. And imagine how big an area are you breathing into now? Is it a small area? Is it a large area? What side of the body is it on? Does it radiate into the thighs? Does it radiate up into the low back? Just notice that hip. Does one sit bone sit more heavily on your block? And on the next inhale, hinge forward, come off your block, and come onto your back. And when you're on your back, support your head with a blanket or a towel, and bring the knees up into the ribs, nice and wide. Hug the knees into the ribs, nice and wide, and grab your kneecaps. And start to turn the knees in a circle, not too fast. Feel this in the hips as you rotate the knees, letting the arms control the motion by pushing and pulling on the knees. See if you can allow the arms to do the work for you, not the hips, not the knees. So you're in a state of surrender as you churn up the hips. You stimulate the hips in this gentle stirring motion. Three more times in this direction, and then you'll change direction and change which foot is on top. So if you've crossed one foot on top of the other, change the cross and reverse the direction. And as you reverse the direction, keep the arms controlling the circular motion. And often when we feel tired, one of the best things to do is to come into inversions. So on the next circle, release the feet, release the knees, let the feet come to the earth, and grab a bolster or a pillow or a rolled up blanket or a block, lift the hips and bring whatever prop you're using under the hips, lifting the hips into the air. I'm just going to make sure everyone's muted, and then relax as you do that. Pick up the knees and hug the knees. Lift the feet into the air. Drive up through the heel bones and curl the toes back. Relax the hands beside you. So often our lymphatic system is woken up when we come into an inversion like this. We have this drainage system, and when we lift the legs up like this, the legs drain backwards into the body, reversing the flow of the lymphatic system. And this can really help change our energy level. Can you start to gently point the toes and flex the toes? And then rotate the feet. First in one direction, and then the other. And then take the hands between the thighs and gently open the thighs outwards, feeling this in the hips. And as you do that, drive out through the heel bones, feeling this variation of dragonfly pose on the back. And we're going to play with dragonfly pose a little bit. Keep holding the hands behind, cupping them behind the knee joint, just up on the hamstring. Or some of you might reach, bend the knees and grab your big toes with your peace fingers and then stretch out into dragonfly. So that'll be just a little more stretch in the hips, a little more sensation as you grip hold of the big toe into your dragonfly. So either way, cupping the hands between the thighs or grabbing the big toes. In either case, drive out through the heel bones a little more so you get plenty of sensation. Feel the hips in this inverted dragonfly. And then exhale, dangle the shins. Dangle the shins. So you can grab the knees or the back of the hamstrings like you're a little bug on your back who's fallen asleep. Pull your left knee up towards your left shoulder so your hips are cocked. And then switch. Bring the right knee up and relax the left. So you cock the hips in the opposite direction. And then start to move from side to side, just feeling the hips with that movement of cocking. One knee comes closer, the other drops away, and then switch. Just feeling the movement of the hips here. And then pause, grab both knees and squeeze them back. Squeeze them back so you feel the hips release and radiate into the low back. Now reach your hands down inside so your elbows come inside the knees, reaching down to your ankle joints, and grab your ankle joints and pull them down with the legs bent 90 degrees so you can see my feet are facing the ceiling. I'm grabbing my shins just above the ankle joints, knees are bent, and if I look at the top of my feet, if I had a cup of tea on top of my feet, it would not spill. So this is a variation of happy baby holding the shins. Notice how that feels on the hips, the thighs, and the low back. Some of you can wrap your fingers around the edges of the feet on the pinky toe side and deepen that variation of happy baby. That's going to add a little more intensity. Now, if you have a strap handy, you might want to grab the strap. Some people won't use the strap, others will. I'll demonstrate with a strap and without a strap. So bring the strap, dangle it over your left foot. And then come back to your variation of happy baby. You're either grabbing the shins above the ankle or you're grabbing the outer edge of the feet. So from here we're going to come into half dragonfly. By extending the left leg out straight, so you're either holding the strap at this point or you're holding the outer edge of the foot. And you bring your right foot into the left thigh. So it's like you're in tree pose, creating that stretch, left leg extended, holding the strap or the foot, and then the right foot, you pull into your left thigh. Just feeling that in the hips. Now, as you pull that right foot into your left thigh, push out through the left heel and drop the right knee away from you. So you're really opening up the hip joint in a different way here. You might feel this in the left elbow as you hold for 3, 2. Now gently come back to your variation of happy baby. You might even rock a little bit on your back if that felt a little intense on your back. We're going to do the other side. So if you got the strap, you transfer the strap to the right foot. You grab hold of the strap. And then you start to straighten the right leg out with the strap or with your hand holding the outer edge of the foot. Really bring that right leg out to the side so you feel this on the inner thigh. And then start to bring that left foot in towards that right extended adductor, inside thigh. Keep holding with the hand or the strap, and then drop the left knee away from you. So this pulls the left hip away from the rib cage as you drop the left knee towards the floor. Keep holding that left foot. So there's a lot of sensation you might feel here. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and then gently release the feet. Let the feet drift back down to the floor. Lift the pelvis. Push the bolster underneath the thighs and straighten the legs. Relax into supported Shavasana here. Now let's come into a gentle variation of what we just did. Bend the left knee. Stand your left foot on the bolster. And then lay the left knee down onto the bolster so you've got your left foot against the extended right leg into tree pose on the back. Start to stockpile the chi or the oxygen from the air. Start to breathe in deeply now into the left hip, left thigh. Like you're a squirrel saving all its winter food in this area. Just stockpile it full of oxygen, full of prana. Exhaling the tension from the hip. So this is a wonderful way to use the imagination and the mind to direct your practice. There's been many studies, I think, that have looked at the power of the mind to help heal the body. The mindset can be a very wonderful ally in the healing process. So just like when you go to sleep at night and you get your sleep, which has been shown to be essential for recovery, so too with our yoga we can direct our relaxation into the joint or the hip we're working with now. In this case, the left thigh, the left hip. Once again, notice how far you radiate up from the hip or down from the hip. How much of that hip is calling for your attention? Can you relax it even more? 3 more breaths on this hip. And on that third breath, release that leg gently. And notice what's changed. Standing the right foot on top of the bolster. And as you lay the right knee down, just be conscious of how the hip changes when you externally rotate that thigh. Keep inviting that right hip to relax in tree pose on this side. Check in with your low back and notice on this side what parts of the hip and the radiation out from the hips calls for your attention. Is it different? It's a different hip. It has a different habitual patterning. It has different tightness. So the radiation might feel different. So listening to your body, understanding the feelings in your body, is where the body and mind intersect. Where the mind and body intersect will shift your nervous system. More and more psychiatrists are showing that if you can listen to your body, you can self-manage your stress and your energy level. So this is the skill we're learning right now. 3 more breaths on this side. Release when you're ready. Notice when you release the pose how that leg and hip feel. So the noticing is while you're in the shape and when you let go of the shape. Bend both knees. Stand your right foot on top of the bolster and cross your left ankle over the right knee, figure 4. Feel this in the waist area, the low back, the hip. And just as an experiment, before we start, change sides. Drop the left, cross the right knee over, and just notice the contrast, if there's any, between those two movements. Left ankle over right knee over left ankle. For me, they're completely different experiences. Come back to the original side. Left ankle over right knee. Take the left hand and push the left thigh away from you. Reach the right arm over the head. Creating this diagonal stretch, diagonal release of the hip and the abdominal on that right side. Left hip, right abdominal. Now keep the figure four. We're going to pick the figure four up. Right foot comes off the bolster, pushing the figure four towards your ribs. Your hands are going to support the right knee by holding the left foot and left knee with the hands. So feel that in the left outer hip, left thigh, left low back. Keep holding this. If your right knee gets tired at all, you can drop it down. If you have a strap, you might grab the strap. Some of you won't need the strap. If you've got the strap, bring it around, lift your head up, bring it over the right shin, and hold the strap. Left hand holds the strap inside the figure four. Right hand holds it outside the figure four. And you can lay back down holding the strap. Some of you can grip your fingers around the shin and squeeze the gripped fingers around that right shin. Bring your head back down to the floor. If your head is uncomfortable, bring a block underneath the head. No straining the neck here. The back of the neck needs to feel comfortable. So if you need to prop up the back of the head, do so. If you're holding the strap, apply a little more tension to bring that knee in a little closer. So you really are getting into that left outer hip. Exhale, release. Keep the figure four. Right foot's on the bolster, left ankle is over the right knee. Now we're going to do the experiment again. Change legs. Change back. And just notice if that difference has changed between the left and right hip. Come back to the other one. Come back to the opposite, so right ankle over left knee. Take your right hand and push the right upper leg, the femur, push it away from the hip. Left hand reaches up over the head, stretching abdominals and rib cage on this side. And just take a moment to notice your energy level. Realizing in Yin Yoga, we're not trying to super energize the body. We're just trying to bring it into a neutral, natural middle way of awakeness. I like to think of it as a steadiness. Exhale, release that stretch. And then pick up the left foot. Hold the right knee and foot with your hands and begin the figure 4 squeeze on this side. Not too much to begin with, and you all know where we're headed with this. So if you're using a strap, you'll have that handy. You can go into your deepest squeeze whenever you're ready. I'm going to take about 5 or 6 more breaths here and then come into the deepest squeeze. No rush. This might be plenty of sensation. And sometimes I find if I feel tired, just to massage my toes can be a nice way to smooth out the energy. Now, if you haven't come into the deepest squeeze, lift the head and either wrap the strap around the shin or the clasped hands, and then pull back on the shin. So the arms are really adding the squeeze here. Make sure your head is supported. No straining the neck at all. If the head needs to be supported by a block or a cushion or a rolled up blanket, do so. But squeeze in, get that right hip. Feeling plenty of sensation. For 3 more breaths if you can. And then release. Keep the figure 4. Coming back to our experiment, left hip, right hip. Change the cross. Notice how that cross feels. Change the cross back. And even though they still may feel different, notice the difference of the difference. Lift that left foot off, remove your bolster, and land both feet on the mat. You might like to have your blocks handy here. You're going to splay the knees out into butterfly pose. So soles of the feet together, knees out to the side. Adjust your blocks onto the thighs. Low back will be arching this time. So another way to wake up the energy of the body is to come into a back bend, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. It's a gentle back bend. The low back is arching. The nervous system will be enlivened. And the hips are being supported by the blocks to the degree that feels delicious for your low back and hips. You adjust the blocks accordingly over time. Take 5 slow, deep breaths here. Really fill the lungs. Pack in the chi, pack in the prana, pack in the oxygen. If you know the Ujjayi breath, the ocean sounding breath, you might layer that onto your breathing. Really fill up. Exhale, release. 2 more. And then as you release that last breath, just notice if your butterfly legs want to open up more. If so, move the blocks. And let your breathing be natural. Relax the jaw. On the next exhale, stand the feet on the mat, bring the knees together, and push your low back into the mat so you feel that low back release. Interlace the hands underneath the head. Squeeze the back of the skull between your heel palms. Take a deep breath in and exhale, lift the head off the ground and keep the low back pressing into your mat. Wrap your forearms around the skull. Squeeze the skull. And as you squeeze the skull, lift the back of the skull up. Give that neck and head plenty of sensation as you squeeze and pull up. Squeeze and pull up. Squeeze and pull up. Gently lay the head down and release the head and cross the right knee over the left knee into shin flop. Relax your breathing as you flop the shin. So when we flop the shin, we're moving from red light to green light, as one psychiatrist says. We're moving from agitation to calmness. We're flopping out the agitation for 3, 2, and stop. And when you stop, really stop. Become absolutely still. Be so still that all you feel is the energetic tingling in the body, the breath, and maybe the heartbeat. Push down with the left foot, lift the hips and roll onto your left hip. Let the knees roll to the left. Relax that right low back and right hip. Start to turn the head to the right. As you breathe in, breathe into the area that you feel the most right now. And notice if it radiates out. How far into the low back, how far into the legs. Fill it with oxygen, prana, chi. Exhale, release the waste. Release the tension. Release the carbon dioxide. Release what's not needed. Relax and let go. And just for today, lift the head up for a moment and lift your left foot off the ground and see if you can reach your right hand down and grab the left foot, grab the toes, or you might wrap the strap around the left ankle and grab your strap. So your right hand is pulling that left foot, left ankle back, or it's pulling the strap back. And then lay back down for a while, just pulling on that foot. Pulling the cat's tail, as they say. See if you can lay the head down comfortably as you pull on that foot. Noticing how that pull changes your energy. Take 3 deep, slow breaths here. Pack your body with oxygen. Release the carbon dioxide. And then release the foot and flop onto your back. Just flop out. And wherever your energy's at, can you just allow that to be as it is without wanting it to be any different? Bend both knees, cross the left knee over the right, and flop. Now at the end of the flopping, we're going to practice absolute stillness. So really enjoy the flop. Feel the whole body being flopped, shaken up. For 3, 2. Now stop the flop and become absolutely still. Till all you can feel is the energy, the tingling, the breath, and the heartbeat. And push down with the right foot, lift the hips and roll onto your right hip. Knees fall to the right, and you feel this hip and this low back on this side. Might feel different as you turn the head to the left. Direct your breath to the radiant center of sensation. Where you feel it the most, direct your breath there. Fill up with oxygen. Release the waste. Feel the radiation. Where does it radiate to? Does it radiate in a 360 degrees or in a certain longitude or latitude, a certain angle? Get curious. Where do the sensations run? Almost like you can feel the muscle, the shape of the muscle as you follow the sensation. Turn the head a little more and start to deepen the breath. Pack it with oxygen. You might have your strap handy to hook onto the right foot. As you lift the head and reach down for that right foot with the left hand, pull it back in towards your buttocks and then let it all come back down to the ground. So pulling that right foot back even deeper changes the sensations of the whole shape. Make sure there's no strain in the neck. If the head is elevated, prop it up. You want the head to be resting here. Five slow breaths here and then release. Big breath. on that fifth breath, you can release all the tension. Let your body feel jelly-like. Let it flop back to Shavasana. And become as still as you can in jelly formation. So a soft stillness, no rigidity. All you can feel is the letting go. Almost like you can feel the cells becoming jelly-like. All you can feel is the breath moving through the body. And you might feel the heartbeat. And then check in with your body. Notice how it feels. If you want to remain in Shavasana, you can. If you're transitioning, you can gently stretch out. And feel permission to take as long as you want in the transition to a seated position. You might take 10 breaths, 2 breaths, 400 breaths. Just give yourself that leisurely sense of transitioning from where you are to where you want to be. Without wanting it to be different, without needing the energy to be any different from how it is. And find that wide-legged seat. And notice the non-habitual crossing in, how that feels. Enjoy the stillness. Enjoy the fragrance of the practice. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.